An error occurred. Hello, are we live?
Unable to fetch space.
Okay, so I think everything on X is not live. We are allegedly live on YouTube. Good morning, everyone. Whoever's watching on YouTube at the moment. I think let's try and get this message out. Just in the YouTube comments, good to see that you are here and alive. Looks like everyone on X is dead when it comes to Twitter Spaces and
Not
video.
literally, though. I think you should clarify that everyone's not literally dead over on Twitter.
Metaphorically. They're metaphorically dead to us at the moment, though we hope they come back to life very, very quickly. Sounds like YouTube is working. If anyone in the chat could let us know if we are live on video or if we are live on Twitter video or Twitter Spaces, please let us know. Otherwise, it's all about the YouTube gang today. We've got Overarch, Diablito, Mapogo, Ryan, Tony, Justefano. Welcome. We're going to have a bunch more people on YouTube, I think, today. As a consequence, Brondo, YT is working. Welcome. Twitter is whack. I agree with you. Right, let's get into it, guys. We're going to take a little bit of time. What you could do that would really help us is if we put the tweet that I just put out to say that we are not working on X and that we're on YouTube, if we could please retweet that one, that'd be super helpful. Ledge, maybe if we put that in the comments, people who are doing their work in the comments at the moment, they might be able to retweet that for us. That'd be super helpful. And then we will get into the general news in just a second. Bread, with this kind of little bit of chaos out of the way, how are you doing? How are you feeling?
Lovely. It's it's early, so we're doing our thing. I'm actually like we were talking about hype the last I don't know, week, 2 weeks, positioning and stuff, and I feel like it's bubbling up even more. I'm FOMOing. I don't like it. I feel like I wanted it to slow play this, and I feel like the market is forcing my hand a little bit, and I don't enjoy that.
I know you wanted to slow play, but it's not that much higher than where it was when you were first thinking about it.
I honestly, to be honest, I haven't checked it this morning, so it might actually just be around there. When I at least first moved in this weekend, but like it's oscillating, and I think everyone's broadly for the market. I've seen like 6 tweets about like Bitcoin all-time high coming, and I'm like, man, like it's gonna be one of those days. It's either gonna dip hard or it's gonna send, and I don't want to be in a position where it sends, and then I feel even more FOMO.
So what's the strategy? Did you buy a little bit more today? You said you bought a little bit yesterday.
I threw in another like quarter, so I'm like a third allocated from what I actually want to allocate. But then seeing stuff like tweets from D's and like comments from exchanges, like, yeah, there's no tier 1 exchanges. I saw someone from an exchange actually fighting with the Hyperliquid crowd, which they can be a little insufferable, if I'm being honest. It's like, the tier 1 exchange is like, bro, we try to get Hyperliquid day 1. And like, oh, why didn't you do it? Why didn't you do it, bro? Oh, is it because we didn't give you supply, bro? Huh? Oh, what you want us, bro? It's like, guys, come on. Like, he's like, no, man. He's like, the deal isn't always with us. Sometimes the deal is with market makers. Sometimes the deal, but like they explicitly tried to like fight that off, and then they do their own market making on their own exchange, which is fair. It's whatever. But he's like, guys, I'm just trying to have a conversation. It's like, we tried. It's like they don't follow the normal process, and everyone's trying to dunk on this dude. So between that and then like seeing the D's poll and seeing like everyone is either like 0%, which was like 40% of the response, 0% allocated to hype, or 25% of their portfolio was like 30%. So it's either you're all the F in or you haven't touched it yet because it's so difficult, which is kind of lines up with my theory whenever I started talking about it this weekend. It was like, yeah, man, like it was a pain in the ass. Like to get the thing is not exactly easy. And that's kind of the bull case if you think it's going to continue to run.
Yes. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, I listened to the conversation as well. Apparently there's some unlocks coming in the next month or so as well. Need to check the unlock schedule. And the big debate was, or a little bit of a debate was, are they going to sell stuff? I don't think this is the kind of team that's going to sell. Like all they do is buy.
The token is their market.
This is the specific team that are not going to sell. because all they do is buy in general. So
Yeah.
that would be my view there. Ledge, coming to you here. How are you doing? Any thoughts on helping Bread with getting allocated to Hype? Any other thoughts going on? I'm just going to share the YouTube link once again, just for people listening in. For whatever reason, Twitter Spaces and Twitter video is down. And so we are primarily on YouTube, not just primarily on YouTube, we are only on YouTube. And I'm going to share the YouTube link in a couple of other places. I'm just going to tweet it out. And if we could help by retweeting that, that'd be super helpful, because people are confused. I can see some people confused in the comments. But Ledge, coming to you here. How are you doing? What are your thoughts?
Doing quite well. It was a bit weird to only stream on YouTube. However, the thing needs to be said. And that is the reminder that nothing that we say here is financial advice. Market is extremely risky. We don't know anything for sure. So please do proceed with caution. Do your own research.
Yes.
And it is weird. We typically have the intro music, right? We have the 5 minutes of intro music. We are listening to the music ourselves. And we obviously did not have the music now because there was no spaces to stream music to. And B-Check, before we started the show, we were like all sitting here in silence. And B-Check was like, because I typically start the show as I stop the music, he was like, I can technically start the show now myself and click on the go live button. And it feels weird to not transition from listening to the intro song into the show. So the positive thing of this, however, is it is a very, very nice way to just force people to onboard to YouTube.
It is. I think that is good. And to be fair, we're going to start the show in this way. Brad did quite a good live rendition of what the music should be, just verbally. We don't always need, now I know we don't actually need the music. We just need Brad's vocal.
If we get enough people in the YouTube, maybe I'll run it back, maybe for the close or something. I'm not afraid.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time you've stretched the vocal cords on the show. Do you remember the first time
oddly sexual?
Funky messaged yesterday and said that there was something else. I think it was in the testosterone conversation. Something got oddly sexual as well, which is unfortunate. Because that's not what this kind of show is.
But testosterone comments are
at least the market is up enough that that's not what this show is. You know, bear market comes around, we pivot. Yeah,
it could be what it is. We were open. Well, we're not open to going in that direction, but it depends where the market goes. Look, I have just tweeted that we are live on YouTube. I just tweeted the link. I think, where is it? God, Twitter's so terrible because it doesn't even doesn't share the link properly either. Okay, this is horrific. People are just going to have to use their brains. People are heading over. Andrew Davids found us. Shout out to Andrew. Takeoff Tones with us as usual on YouTube. So let's keep it moving as usual to get you up to speed with everything that has been going on in the space in the last 24 hours. If you can retweet the message that we retweeted that we are not on Spaces at the moment because it is so broken and we are live on YouTube instead, please do. Right, let's get into it, starting with the price action to get you up to speed with everything. We have Bitcoin, which is, let me just check, Bitcoin is up 1% to $106,000, which is pretty nice. That's very, very high, and we like it when it is that high. ETH is up 1% as well to 2.5k. XRP is flat at $2.30. BNB is up 1% to 653. Solana is up 1% to 168. Checking in our other favorite sort of majors, Sui is flat at $3.86, and Hype, after Bread allocated 1/3 of his allocation, sent it up by 1.3%. to $26.4.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you.
I threw 10K over to Hype EVM. I haven't clicked any buttons over there, but it's in position. Rabby integrated it, so it looks like I'm wealthy again.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your service. Getting into the meme coins, we have Trump up 10% to $14.30. Got Pepe up 6, Doge up a couple, Bonk's up 5, Fartcoin is up 8, Whiff's up 4, Pengu's up 5. Generally green day. I'd say not a hugely green day, but definitely a green day. Mog's up 5 as well. I'd say generally like up single digits ish. Giga's up 9%. Mudeng is actually down 7, but that went on such a crazy run. Probably unsurprising to correct a little bit there. So that's the meme coin side of things. Getting into the headlines themselves, Only two real headlines to me at the moment, to be honest. Bitcoin is the main headline. That's it. That's the headline knocking at the door of an all-time high. Went as high as 107 something thousand. Maybe it touched 108. Now it's just kind of trickled back down to 106. And then the second kind of tangential headline to that, Texas passes strategic Bitcoin reserve bill. SB 21 passes the second reading. There will be a third reading required before it heads to the governor's desk to pass. Even when it gets to the governor's desk, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to go through. We had an example of that not long ago, where even though both sides agreed, it got vetoed right at the end. So Texas moving forward, and we're going to be talking about Bitcoin today, as well as some other interesting points for discussion. Some notable price action. We had the SocialFi and InfoFi tokens running hot. Kaito was up 16% to 2.1 bill FDV, and Cookie was up 21% to 186 million FDV on their new announcement that they have.
I should have fucking bought it. I did it, and people were like, oh, you need the token for whatever. I was like, yeah, I should probably just throw a clip into it, because I knew I was one of the first people to start throwing out referrals, and I was like, okay, I should probably just get something. Wow.
That's a shame.
I did not.
So yeah, they've got this new system. They're going down the Kaito path. Basically, we'll maybe touch on that a little bit more in a bit. People are sharing their ref links, trying to get people on their platform, seeing how much reach that they have from Cookie's perspective instead of Kaito. So that is a new competitor there. Trump's up 11%, perhaps on the meme coin dinner taking place this week, which Justin Sun has confirmed he'd be in attendance for. And also Grass is up 10% to 2.2 billion. That's token is doing particularly well. Notable sales, Legendary. Anything catching your eye on the NFT side of things?
Posted a very nice CryptoPunk with Mohawk selling for 54 ETH in the snapshot. Apart from that, it is a bit of a mixed day. We have Pudgy Penguins and Doodles being down each, 3% each, with Penguins now sliding under 10 ETH back to 9.8 ETH, Doodles at 1 ETH, 1.2 ETH. Apes are pretty flat at 12.8 ETH. And the rest of the majors didn't move too much. It doesn't seem like there's actually a lot of movement going on for the NFT majors during the last, I would say, week or so.
Validator's still sitting up at almost 3 ETH. That's a good surprise. Did you get one of those? Legendary, you got one, right?
Of course I did. Yeah.
B-Check, you too?
I did not. I did not use the protocol enough. It requires too much effort.
You just need to put more ETH into it. I stopped doing the daily, but I had a lot of ETH in it, so that's
same.
Maybe that would have been the way I would have liked to do it. To be lazy, which is obviously my favorite way to get exposure to stuff.
Passive, guys.
Passive.
Easy. Passive.
Passive is synonymous with lazy. So yeah, I mean that's holding up pretty strong there as well. And then the other thing I was thinking, I saw Confusion make the same point that the NFT side's been a bit kind of lost a bit of energy. I think it's just because ETH went on such a run. Punks, if you think about it, went from around a 60K floor to what is it now, like 110, 120 or something. So yeah, literally $120,000 floor, not 120 ETH floor. And a bit of energy's kind of gone out of the market there. They had the big announcement about being sold by Yuga. And I think it's just like kind of consolidating a bit here, to be honest. Had a big move up. So that would be my read there. Ledge, would you have a different read?
No, very much agree with that. And I think now with all the other things happening in the market is just more interested in doing those and seizing those opportunities, because even if you look at the volume, it's not too impressive. Say Bored Apes have a one-day volume of 87 ETH at a 12 ETH floor price. That is 7 floor apes moving a day.
Yeah, good point. So yeah, kind of drying up a little bit. But I guess to Bread's point, one of the things to note is that a lot of these NFTs that are actually super valuable are not NFTs in the traditional
Patron, Kaito, Genesis,
exactly.
Validator. They're all vehicles for tokens.
Yeah, a lot of these are vehicles for tokens. Kaito being one of the best ones at the moment. The Infinex patrons, which are up at 2.5 ETH floor, which have a 100,000 supply. Don't know if people necessarily fully realize that. 40 something % of them were sold in that initial sale to the community, and then more than 50% are just like held back. And that's the way that the Infinex have kind of held on to, taken their portion, the team proportion is held by NFTs in that sense. So that's a humongous market cap. But as we said, including the Ethos validator in that group, these are like representative of future tokens in some way, I think. Brett, final take there on that market. Are those the NFTs that you're kind of intrigued by? I think do you still own your Kaito one? Are you intrigued by that type of exposure?
So I'm intrigued by exposure only because I think the market will FOMO in just before TGE. So I'm gonna try to play the validator one the exact same way that I did the Kaito one, except I had 2 Kaitos, which means I sold off one of the Kaitos just before TGE. It spiked up to like 10 ETH at the time, so it actually turned out to be a really good sell. And then I have the other one, which is still sitting around 2, 3 ETH. It's good. I think the validators will do the same thing. I only have one, so I think it'll run up, as FOMO and froth comes to market, and I plan on selling it ahead of TGE. Just because, like, I love Ethos, I love the protocol, I love all that stuff, but like I'm skeptical people are going to be willing to pay for it. It's going to be like a highly profitable thing. Like, I don't think it has the same motion that a Kaito will have, because Kaito's motion is the infinite token supply of the rest of the market funneled through Kaito. With Cookie coming forward, and maybe that goes down. But yeah, that's my general position. I'm not buying actual NFTs, although there are some. I saw Whale come out with a post that said like you could be profitable with some of these NFT launches this year, but I'm not buying anything. I'm participating and holding on to these tokens, and I would prefer to sell them than actually get the tokens.
Have you been thinking to buy more Ethos validators then, if the thesis is that they go up before TGE?
I wouldn't be opposed to it, honestly. It's probably not a bad move, but I also am just I don't trade. It's like I'd much rather have 1 click to have to plan for in the future than like 6 clicks of like buying in and then buying out. And I'd rather just like allocate that ETH. Like, I looking at my portfolio as I've been doing the last few weeks. Like, I'm still ETH is still my single largest token holding. I probably want to change that and diversify between Bitcoin and Hype.
Right, you can't say that thing anymore. You don't trade. You've been posting about Hyperliquid. You're looking into stuff. You have become more active.
Are you active right now? Yeah. So I haven't. I've been trying to make a conscious effort for it. It's still a lot of work for me, and I still don't move as fast as I should or want to. But I'm trying to be mindful of it. Having a portfolio overview actually, honestly, is like the step change. Like when you can look at all of it and you're like,
yeah, it's so important.
What am I doing? What am I doing?
Important.
Yeah, I've been sitting on a third of my portfolio in high value NFTs for 3 years now. It's like, I don't want that anymore.
And maybe you didn't even realize, right? I think that's why it's so important. And it's like, it's never been possible to properly evaluate stuff because the tools haven't been great. And even if you found a tool like maybe took you 60% of the way, but doesn't, it wouldn't be compatible with something else and you have to do something else manually. Being able to see the full picture is unbelievably important. And sometimes that can take me more than a day of work to be on top of the whole thing, purely because the tools haven't been good enough up to date. Maybe some of the newer tools are. But yeah, putting in that work, I'd super recommend.
Awesome. Like, that's the one I tried over the weekend. It was the best product that I had. Lighthouse. It's the one I showed you. Yeah.
That was pretty good. And there's another one which I'm looking to try as well, which I think would be kind of interesting.
Just is offering an alternative hypothesis, Brett. He's saying it's TRT that's changing you.
It's possible.
Too much TRT.
I haven't done it yet, so now my test is waning, and that is what's changing me.
It's the desire for it that is.
Maybe.
But it's getting exogenous testosterone.
Okay. Final bits. Go on, Brad.
I was gonna say one other thing I think is worth noting is, and you is starting to get to me, the founder of Kaito. Like, the dude he's bull posting. He is bull posting, and like, it makes me almost want to take my stuff out of Pendle, even with the 50% APY. And he's doing this like, bro, if you stake this shit, you're gonna eat. Which I like. He's trying to lure me in, man. That's how they always get you. They always do this shit, and like, it's scary like do that stuff. But like if it is just staking and holding the thing, like maybe that's not that scary. That's one move away still.
I told you my position so far, right? For Kaito, half of mine is staked, and it's enough to be over. He keeps mentioning this number, which is the 5,000 staked Kaito, which I think is around $10,000. So I have enough to be over that barrier. I don't know, like that just seems to be the number he keeps mentioning. So I've got
5,000?
half. Yeah, he keeps mentioning 5,000, like
Hmm.
in different tweets, just random. I don't know the significance of that number, but it always seems to be 5,000. And then I've got half just like waiting to see, do I stake the rest or do I put it in Pendle, like you said? But I get it. Okay, one quick take on the InfoFi war, perhaps, because I think that's something that's taken over the timeline today before we chat about Bitcoin. And then just a general reminder as well, we're moving smoothly today, but we're also going to have this interesting conversation with OpenLedger, who've partnered with us today to talk about AI, the blockchain, how they're going to be powering agents moving forward. We're going to be doing these dial-ins more routinely. So we had one yesterday, obviously with Animoca about student loans. We've got one today as well with OpenLedger, and tomorrow we've got a cool one as well, which I think I'll wait to announce until tomorrow. So we're going to be moving through that way. But the InfoFi war, legendary, Cookie has now, I guess, responded in a way to Kaito. They've produced their equivalent product, which I guess is like tracking everyone's social metrics, their reach, their audience, providing people data on what types of topics are the most relevant and most interesting and most talked about. What's your thought on Cookie kind of entering into that space? And do you think it can overtake Kaito?
It's not surprising to see someone challenging Kaito. You obviously have Quacks and other protocols who tried that, maybe at a smaller scale or not with as much reach on the timeline as Cookie did. But Kaito is running a beautiful business and it's just growing that and is going for the capital there as well, as we said yesterday. So I'm not really surprising to see that Cookie is coming out or others are coming out to try to challenge that. The thing that Cookie has as an advantage is, I would say, it had established itself as the go-to platform for all things AI agents and the agentic economy. And it did gain a lot of popularity and traction within that sector. And I don't think that it will overtake Kaito. I think it can carve out a niche for itself and build a beautiful business out of that. But I do think that Kaito now has, at least for this cycle, the advantage of having all the top protocols, both like pre and post TGE, being on there or wanting to be on there and doing the large distribution campaigns through Kaito. And I do think that this is too late for this cycle to catch up to, not only for Cookie, but for other competitors as well.
Yeah, I think that part is definitely insurmountable. Personally, I think Kaito's brand and everything that they've done has been so excellent that they've really positioned themselves beautifully. You've got protocols literally throwing percentages of their supply away to Kaito stakers or NFT holders, and completely bought into the process. Right? Just think of how valuable that stuff is, and the fact that they've managed to convince people that yes, we deserve 0.5%, 1%, or 1.5%. And it's going to go to this Kaito ecosystem is pretty significant. Cookie will have an uphill battle, I think, trying to have that kind of sway and pull at least immediately. Brad, question for you to Legendary's point, which maybe I'm pushing back against, but I'm asking you the answer. What kind of niche can they create for themselves? Like, it doesn't look like they're going for a niche. It looks like they're going for the whole Kaito thing. I know they started off as like this AI specific kind of data platform, which seemed like a good niche for them, but this is much broader now. So are they going for the niche? They're going for everything. How do you view it?
No, I think they're going pretty directly for them. So like it's just a different flavor of it. So like they're trying to offer a better product in the space, which I think is good. The problem is Kaito has a lot of momentum. I had received some further information from the team because I'm on Mega ETH and they're talking about like a program for platforms specifically and how they can facilitate their stuff. So like this is just how the markets play out, right? So Kaito's leader, Kaito drives the price, Kaito drives the mind share. someone comes to market, Cookie, to their defense, is like, as you mentioned, has had a position in the space. They were known for the AI agent stuff. Like they were early and they just had their own niche. But I think they just see a lot of real estate there. So they'll bring it in. They'll come in, they'll compress prices. They'll probably offer a lot of similar services, just with a different view of what can actually be offered. Like if you look at your profiles and even the profiles of projects, like I go there for Mega ETH and I look at how they sort stuff, right? They have different categories of mindshare where it's like hype or loyalty or whatever, like sentiment. Like they actually break it down pretty good. Or at least they have the categories that I think are interesting. They're trying to be novel and different and differentiate themselves. Whether or not you think they're valuable versus Kaito is going to be a separate discussion. But yeah, like I think they're directly going for them. They're just trying to not do a straight copy pasta. They're, they do have some expertise in the field, and I think they can probably actually deliver something that is useful. And it's just going to compress prices for everyone. Right now, there's competition.
Okay, good take. Appreciate that. Let's just get you up to with everything else before we just get into the Bitcoin conversation in a second, because I think that will be an important one to get to, because we're basically at an all-time high, although you don't necessarily feel the euphoria. I'm curious for people's opinions as to why. But just to go around the rest of the space to get you up to speed, we've got the SEC charging Unicoin for 110 mil because of some fraud offering. There are unsupported promises that its crypto tokens would be backed by valuable real estate, and they were not. You've got the world's largest alternative asset manager, Blackstone, revealing a $1 million Bitcoin buy via BlackRock's IBIT. Might sound good, but they're actually like they've got a crazy number of money, crazy amount of money under assets, under management. And so this is like a tiny proportion, so it's not very significant. Vivek Ramaswamy has co-founded Strive Enterprises. They're going to be targeting distressed Bitcoin claims from Mt. Gox estate worth up to 75,000 Bitcoin. That's a nice idea. I'd like some discount to the Bitcoin price. President Trump will host a private dinner for meme coin holders this week. The Tron founder and billionaire Justin Sun is confirmed to be in attendance. Trump token price was up 10%. I don't think it's the kind of the thing where you can just buy it now and turn up. Pretty sure you can't do that, but up nevertheless. Pudgy Penguins announced a partnership with the world's largest children's book publisher to release the book The Worst Birthday Present Ever. That's pretty cool. And then on the social side, as we already discussed, Cookie launched the Kaito competitor. Instead of yaps, they're going to be calling the metric snaps. Sunrise announced a 1.5% of total Rise token to reward Kaito yappers and state Kaito stakers. So again, it sounds like sometimes that percentage keeps going higher. That's getting broken off for people in the Kaito ecosystem. First it was 0.5%, then it was 1%. Now we've got 1.5. Haven't seen anything above 2 yet, or at 2. But let's see where we go. That's the rest of the Web3 roundup. Legendary. Anything else catching your attention? Or I think just in terms of time, I think we should just go straight into Bitcoin now and do a little roundup. Talk us through Bitcoin knocking at all-time high.
Yeah, nothing to add to that. So I'll just transition smoothly into the bullish price action on Bitcoin. As you said, BTC was up to 107.9K earlier today, currently 106.6K. And just want to have a look at some numbers from around the BTC space, starting with the spot ETF net inflow in US dollars. We've seen at the start of the week a very strong day with 670 mil in net inflows yesterday, another 330 mil in inflows that got added. Moving on to the liquidation chart, that is a pretty interesting one for the last 24 hours because we have liquidations on both sides, longs and shorts, with roughly the same number. So 116 mil in longs, 130 mil in shorts being liquidated, which just means there's a bit of volatility, obviously bigger candles moving up and down, and some people definitely speculating with larger positions on that. We've seen that on Hyperliquid with a whale having a massive 750 mil 40x leverage long open on BTC, and some other whaley positions. If we go to this Hyperliquid overview over here, with multiple people actually having a position size on Hyperliquid alone, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that is above 100 mil, and definitely playing with a lot of leverage on that side of things. The other thing that I want to add is the open interest. Open interest is also moving up, specifically on BTC. It's up 4% over the last 24 hours. So that is definitely something to watch as well. We definitely know that once we go to higher candles and we break through an open interest is adding up and is creeping up, that it will be flushed out at some point. So that is something I do like to track once those daily candles get a bit bigger. Then the last thing that I want to do is revisit this bet that we had taken a look at earlier this week on Polymarket, which is what price will Bitcoin hit in May. Obviously, the 110K is now even more popular. It's standing at a 63% chance. However, 115K is also in the realm of a realistic possibility, according to Polymarket, because that is standing at a 25% chance as of right now. Personally, nothing is changing for my own portfolio. I'm still keeping my BTC exposure. I'm still increasing that, as I said at the start of the week. Moved even more to hyperliquid from the BTC side, and definitely have been getting exposure to some of the liquidity pools on there. But again, open interest levels might be rising even more. There might be a little flush out at some point, but I'm not too bothered about that because all the BTC I want to accumulate is for the longer term. And just one last piece of news, if I can find that again, there was this, doesn't matter, don't need to bring it up on screen. There was this large portfolio manager out of Texas managing, I think, a total portfolio of 8 billion, who now for the first time also said that they're buying Bitcoin. And it seemed that some other Texan portfolio managers did follow along. So essentially, you have TradFi companies out of Texas trying to front run the state of Texas, which, as is the second piece of news, is now advancing with their own strategic Bitcoin reserve.
Good stuff. So directionally, it sounds like you're still pretty bullish from where we are. I want to just check with you, Legend. Well, I'll come to Bread in a second, but is it possible for you to check whether we can connect to the spaces still? Apparently they are working again. Just have a little play around to see if that's possible. But in the meantime, coming to you, Bread, what's your kind of, what's your read here on the general market? Because after such a big move up, I think sometimes people want to take something off. I was watching Zeneca's interview with someone just a couple of days ago, and his decision had been to like actually start to take a little bit off because he'd been away for a bit. It's like, oh, the prices are loads higher. And usually that's a good move, right? You take a bit off as prices go higher. If you're always selling.
May. It's May. You sell in May and you go away, right? That was like what we've psyoped ourselves into. And then like we had the counter, which was like, yeah, sure, you do that unless it's Trump as president, because 3 out of the 4 times he was president those years, sell in May was the wrong move because it actually, the market continued to send. I think the ultimate answer is just that like no one knows the answer to this shit and we're all guessing, and it's probably just as much chance as it is anything else. Like it's not magic that Trump has done, but like that's the thing, right? Like, okay, like the common knowledge is like you just kind of sell now. People go on vacation, they're not as active doing stuff. Like it's just like human behavioral things come in, and that broadly applies to the market, right? These big hedge fund managers are like in the fucking Alps or some shit, right? So like there's that element to it, and I think we were gearing up for that. Even though we did have some like structural bullishness on in the industry broadly, right? Like we have legislation coming through. We have everyone bull posting about buying Bitcoin broadly, which is good for us. Stable coins are sending. Like there's all this stuff that's awesome. Like it's great. But I would be lying if I didn't say that I saw this run up and I was like, I'm fucking scared to allocate right now. That I've been talking to you guys about like buying into hype. It's like, I'm waiting for a pullback because I feel like a pullback, but I also feel like it's never going to give it to me because I want it. And I don't know if I'm psyoping myself or if it's like trying to actually read the market and like, you know what, fuck it. Even if it goes down for the next 3 months and then sends at the end of the year, like I'm still okay with that outcome, which I should be. But that's my general sentiment too. It's like, yes, like Bitcoin is approaching all-time highs again. We're basically at the point where it's either going to continue to go and you're going to be sidelined, or it's going to dump because like we're all peak froth and we think like it's up infinity for the rest of time, right? Like it kind of feels like that moment. And this is usually where you get got. So like that's my hesitancy.
And we are back live on Spaces, and
Hello.
Funky
Oh,
has
cool.
his hand up.
Okay, there we go. Funky, what's your take?
No one should be sidelined, right? I mean, this is clearly because what more evidence do you need, regardless of the price action? No one needs to be sidelined at this point. Like,
So-
nothing has been more legitimizing than, I mean, Texas is about to start buying. It's not going to stop. This train only goes one direction.
It's yeah. See, this is the type of talk I'm afraid of. Like this is what everyone says before they get showered. Like they get the cold dump bucket of water over their heads. It's not even so much as like, it's not so much as like you're not allocated at all. Like I have exposure to the industry, right? It's like what percentage of your exposure are there? Are you fully deployed and like you're strapped on, you're white knuckling it for the next 6 months? Like you're just playing this thing out, or do you like stay conservative, keep 20%, 30%, 50%, like waiting for an opportunity? Because the market always gives you an opportunity. Always, right? Like we'll do this stuff. It could run for another month and a half, and then we could have one fucking day where it spikes down because of XYZ, and you can catch that bottom and like have more conviction in it because you've watched the last 3 months, things have matured, blah, 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 blah. It's just like this stuff always takes longer than you expect it to take. It always does. Always. And I always psyop myself, or try not to psyop myself into like these, like, you have to do it right now or else. Yeah, and that's the position I'm in. It's like how
Well,
allocated
yeah,
do I wanna be?
you're saying that right at the moment.
I
It's gonna break
know.
all-time high.
English is
I
saying
know.
everyone wants a pullback, so that's probably why it won't happen. And Meg added,
Exactly.
you can never be sidelined if you never sell.
Okay, someone who does leverage stuff more than me, this is the question I want maybe Legendary to answer. Maybe Funky, you might have some insight here. Okay, so we're like right on the cusp, right? And so you have the one person's perspective, which is like English's perspective, which is, okay, this stuff, everyone wants it to pull back, therefore it's not going to pull back, which means it's going to go higher. Right. But it just feels like there's as many people who are like, no, it's about to break, and I'm going to leverage long at 30 to 50x or whatever. Like, you know, you see some of those people taking those positions on Hyperliquid. So like, is it just going to cancel out and people are just going to stay where they are? And we're just going to have to like do this dance between these two groups of people. Legendary, I'm coming to you on that first, while I just kind of set up the dial-in we're about to take.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I'm not the person who plays around too much with leverage. Like recently expressed the thought, and Brett and I had a conversation down. A low level of leverage for a long exposure on BTC would be interesting. But then my mind is also going that way to think that I'd probably rather just have an option strategy for BTC going on rather than being leveraged all the time. Or the other thing that I've been thinking about as well is, again, that it goes back to playing around on Hyperliquid, which is, and I've been talking to someone in DMs about that, to build up a nice low leveraged borrow loop with BTC on that end to get some additional directional exposure to BTC, but also to points farming on that side. But just per se to have a leverage long for a longer period of time on Hyperliquid or on any of the like perp trading platforms is not really for me. Like, I did play around with shorter momentum trades with 10, 20x leverage, and I don't know. It's just not my trading style, and I have to stick to what I'm good at.
Yeah, I think even with the maintenance, like even if with low leverage, you still have to like be aware of it, right? You have to know your liquidation price. You have to make sure your funding's in place. Like you have everything allocated enough to top off if you need it in the event the market gets weird for a second, right? There's a spike down, there's a whatever. Like so I agree. And this is not being a trader myself. I know the common thing is from basically all traders is like, don't fucking touch leverage. Do not touch leverage. And I'm willing to kind of take their advice on that. Like, it's not something I desire. And it's not something that I'm going to be doing a lot. I'm very good at holding. And that has proven to be the winning strategy for a lot of this stuff. Now, that used to be the thing with like index funds. Like, yeah, you just hold it, you beat the market, you do whatever. And now we're, diamond handing NFT JPEGs that, went from 6 figures to 0. So, holding isn't always the best strategy, but that's kind of my vibe. It's just like, I do this stuff. I don't want to overexpose myself, and I'm comfortable holding. Like I don't need the money now. I don't need to get a 10x in the next, month. So like vibe.
Yeah, very much agree with that. Like, I think in my own portfolio, I'm beyond that stage as well. And I feel like this is the comfortable stage of things where you just can keep building up and don't need to go all in. Some people still do. Some people obviously love the thrill of that. And we also have people in the space losing 8 figures on leverage trades and essentially wiping themselves out. But
yeah, you saw Gainsey talking, right? I don't know how much he touched leverage, but like you see this like post-coital like like realization. He's like, man, he's like, I fucked up. He's like, at the highs, I thought I was the fucking greatest trader. I'm making, my net worth is 7-8 figs. He's like, dude, I'm crushing it. And now he's like, yeah, I got to get back in the trenches, and not because I want to. It's like, I feel like I need to be better about this. I don't want to be in that position.
There is a fun side, not so fun side note. There is a crypto addiction recovery clinic in Switzerland that is exactly for people who are trading with way too much size and leverage for their own good. And basically the goal there is not to get you away from crypto, but to get you trade crypto in a healthier way. It's a 4-week program. Brett, how much do you think it is for that total 4-week program in Swiss francs, dollars, whatever you wanna say?
For 4 weeks? Is it full live-in, full
Yep.
take care
You
of?
have an entire month.
30 grand.
480K in US dollars. It's 100K Swiss francs a week. Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Is it in the fucking Alps? Like what? Like, is it on top of Zermatt?
Probably. I think the thinking is if someone can afford to lose 5 mil a month on leverage trading, they can also afford 100K a week to try to fix that.
Christ.
Sounds about right. Look,
honestly,
as
that
I
feels
said,
predatory to me. I know we got to go. Like that feels predatory to me. They're like, these people are degenerates. They make bad decisions with a lot of money. Let's charge them a lot of money to make more bad decisions with us.
Depends on who they are. If they
Sounds
fix
about
you,
right.
it's a cheap price to pay.
Sounds about right. Look, Funky's got his hand raised. We're going to go to him in a second. Ledge, while we do that, we've got Ram in the audience and the Twitter spaces. We could just invite him up because we're going to be having this interesting conversation with OpenLedger in just a second. I'll do a proper introduction in a second. Funky, it's only right. Bitcoin's almost at an all-time high. Give us your closing take on how we should be looking at Bitcoin at the moment.
No, I'm very much aligned with Brett here, right? Like, I'm not a trader. I don't think most people should be touching leverage, even though I said I might throw like a grand into an account, do $50 trades and try 2, 3, 5x or something like that. But ultimately, getting back to what Brett was saying, yes, I'm all in the sense that we just DCA into Bitcoin. We just buy and hold on a regular clip as part of our monthly household budget. We just see it as a long-term savings at this point. I think many people will probably be smart looking at it that way and not trying to worry about like, oh, it's at this price or this, that. Now, granted, we've been DCAing basically since 2017, so it's very different, right? Our cost basis is still significantly lower than where we are today. But I think at the end of the day, that's probably the best way for most people, especially if they're new to this space. And, they should be messing with anything else because it's just, to your point, such an easy place to get wrecked. And, I do still, we now have some stables that we're using in hydration and just trying to like take advantage of the APY. And maybe if there's some massive dip, will we buy some? Yeah, probably. Or like airdrop money or my Polkadot rewards, straight to BTC. Like, I don't even think twice about it. It just gets converted immediately. And that's just another way to continue to stack sats. It's probably the easiest way to do it.
Makes sense, man. As I said, it's a good time. People should be more excited. Bitcoin at all-time high. I think it's fair to say we are structurally bullish here still. I do think there's going to be like these little bit of fun and games as people continue to leverage a potential breakout where people will need to get wiped out a little bit. But I think that's the general take of the show. We think we're gonna keep moving hopefully over the rest of the year. So we will see how that plays out. Always reporting that to you as we go. But as we mentioned at the top of the show today, we're delighted to have our second dial-in of the week with us. We're going to be doing these dial-ins more routinely. Today we have Ram from OpenLedger. OpenLedger is a research and engineering driven AI startup specializing in cutting edge features for decentralized AI. The plan is to power the next generation of AI agents, and they have designed a one-of-a-kind attribution mechanism that brings a new level of transparency to AI. Importantly, they raised $11.2 million with investors including Polychain, Borderless Capital, and Hashkey, with prominent angels including Sriram from Eigenlayer, Balaji, and Sandeep from Polygon. So Ram, welcome to the show with us. How are you doing? Great to have you with us.
Awesome, I'm doing great. It's been a good day actually with crypto, so
Yeah,
I'm doing good. I was hearing you guys talk about crypto trading addiction, so the new thing that I learned. But yeah, good to meet you guys. Be check, Brad, and Legendary. Good to be here.
great to meet you, man. So you're feeling pretty positive. I'm assuming, you're healthily allocated to Bitcoin. The moves up feel good, but also maybe even from a company perspective, I guess it's so much easier to build when the market is going up, right? It feels the sentiment is
It's
way better.
just the sentiment is much better. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. Like we are very market dependent. I'm glad. So I got in the space back in 2017 because someone randomly paid me in Bitcoin for tech, and then
Oh,
that's how I got into the space. So whenever Bitcoin goes to more than 100, I'll be talking to them. When I got paid in Bitcoin, it was like under like $1,000, right? So I've seen it through all these years. So back then it was like if the market was going into like a bear market, like it's no one used to be there. It's a 0 to 1. Like everyone used to flock if the market is good. And during the bear market, there were no developers, right? Now it's much better, but definitely sentiments are always aligned and much more positive if the market is good. Like all our bags are full, so that I think we can be happy about it.
hopefully. If,
Yeah,
if your bags are full, then you're happy. But if they're not full, I think
yeah.
people might be struggling a bit. But look, let's get into the conversation about OpenLedger. We're going to attack this from a variety of ways. First, we're going to talk a little bit about AI because you guys are building at that intersection between AI and crypto. We'll then get into a bit of the product, and then we'll talk about the token and the value accrual and how you guys are thinking about creating your economy. So I think just to set the scene for people, all of our listeners are super well versed in the AI and crypto first iteration, which was a little bit of a speculative bubble. That's probably a lot of people's experience of it. I'm sure you'll be able to speak to it in a different way. But we saw all of these agents explode onto the scene. There's a lot of speculative energy, and then it collapsed. So what do you think happened there? And how do you assess the crypto and AI space right now? How should we be thinking about it?
Yeah, I think it's very similar to what happened during 2017, like during the ICO period, right? Everyone launched an ICO token. There was probably about 100 projects that I would have seen myself that either I participated or I've worked with them or, I've seen them really market well. Most of them like were scams, right? But there were good ones that came out of it. Solana was an ICO. BNB was an ICO. A couple of other projects which have been doing really well in crypto have been an ICO project. So um, crypto unfortunately starts with that. It's always a speculation because you get something new. People would like to speculate that, would like to play around, and everyone wants to flock to that particular matter. But like you could see that happen in Twitter itself, right? About 3 4 months back, there was people are just talking about AI agents, nothing else, right? It was all about
Yeah.
AI and AI agents. Like even regular companies, like companies who are working on ZK and stuff like that, they're trying to shift to AI and they were trying to play around with that, which is funny. But like that's how the industry has been. Like everyone wanted to do something which is like highly speculative. Um, but then we kind of figured out who are the all the fluff went off and the real projects stood, right? What I really was unfortunate to see is like how people were always relating the token to an AI agent and they were
Mm.
speculating on the token. I think that was what went wrong. I've always seen like Vitalik talk about this, right? That the best thing and the worst thing about crypto is the token option to launch like tokens. And the sad thing is that they're the ones who actually enable that to happen. So if that was not there, if it was not a direct correlation to like a token and AI agent, I think things would have been much better. All this happens in traditional space as well, right? When ChatGPT initially launched, there were like hundreds and hundreds of ChatGPT wrappers that was launched across the globe. Every country had its own ChatGPT version. The people built ChatGPTs for gaming, ChatGPTs for asking about your personal life, your love advice and stuff like that. But most of them became useless because people found out it's useless, just a wrapper on ChatGPT. So I think That was the problem with AI agents. So tech was the problem. There was not good infra that was supporting these agents, not good enough models to make these agents do what they claim to do. Like I've seen people building like trading agents, but they most of them were useless, right? You could never use these trading agents to actually execute any kind of trade because it's simply not possible. Like even in traditional space, people are still exploring that. So, and then there were other agents which claimed to do various other activities like governance agents and all that are seen, but none of them did. So the tech was not so great. There were not enough models, or people did not work on like data flows to power these agents. That was one thing. That was one of the barrier signals that was there. And then another one was the market also went into a turmoil during the time. And since it was very token driven, all these agents, I think since the market went down, pretty much no one really cared about these agents, right? Because they're holding these tokens, and if it goes down, they want to dump them and probably buy another token. So
Sure.
I think these are the two things that went wrong.
Got it. So the kind of connection from the token to the agent was maybe something that wasn't necessarily super important at that time. You mentioned like agents a lot over and over again there. That's clearly been like one of the main things that has kind of at least found some type of product market fit. Like people like the idea of these agents. Maybe we need to figure out like what's the best use case for it. But what are the other ways that AI is integrating into crypto? Before we get into, because Legendary is going to talk to you about like exactly how OpenLedger fits into this, but when you're like setting the scene for all of this conversation, how is AI and crypto? How do you see AI and crypto working together?
So AI is another technology that can be used into various sectors that is there. Right? Crypto is one sector, and it goes the other way around as well. AI could also use crypto. So if we take a look at most of the crypto projects today, they do not use AI, right? But most of the SaaS platform or any other tech platform out there have started integrating AI into their day-to-day use case. If you take a look at e-commerce platforms like Amazon and all that, you have an AI which is like Rufus for Amazon, where you can ask questions about what you want to buy. It's going to give you suggestions and stuff like that. So that's one way you can bring in AI into crypto apps, right? Most of the crypto apps today are not very user friendly. So having UI to abstract most of the challenges that a user would face will be a great way to have AI integrated, right? For example, text platforms. Everyone knows about this. We all talk about this. Text platforms are the most non-user friendly platforms out there, and like the best way to onboard your, let's say, your parents onto Dex is to have an AI guide them, right? No one knows about what is a wallet, and the first thing that the people ask in a Dex platform is connect your wallet. Like, why would a normie know about what is a wallet, right? So for him, a wallet is something which is made out of leather. So how would he actually connect his crypto wallet in a Dex platform? Like, but what if you can have an AI that can guide, which can actually basically abstract all of this? You just give your information, and then AI goes ahead and executes all the work for you to onboard into a Dex platform. So that's one big use case. If we can just work on that and solve that alone, that's a big game changer for crypto and how we can bring in AI to crypto use cases. And then we've also seen people experiment using AI in like the backends, right? For example, any infrastructures, for example, managing your governance or managing how you onboard users to your infra, that can be a place where you can use AI as well. So there has been multiple ways we can experiment. I would start with more on the consumer level products, dApps, which are heavily UX challenged. If we can implement AI there, that will be a significant improvement for the crypto space.
Mhm. And talking about solving problems, I think one of the things you guys have been speaking about, and that's a key challenge, is really data attribution. So the question becomes, how do you keep a clear record of who is contributing, what piece, what data to what AI model? And you guys are trying to solve via a proof of attribution model. Can you speak a bit more to how you envision this to work?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, like I'm sure that you guys have used ChatGPT and all these AI apps, right? Like, as you guys know, that all of these apps are powered by a model behind a larger language model. Like ChatGPT is powered by OpenAI, Meta's AI products are basically powered by Llama, and everyone has its own like models, right? And if you take a look at a platform like Perplexity, like I'm sure that you guys have heard about this one as well. They're competing against Google, and they want to be like the new AI search engine. And they use models behind, right? They use OpenAI as a model. One thing that people don't know is that they also use a lot of specialized models, models which are tuned for various purposes. For example, if you ask a math question to Perplexity, it's going to get the context using OpenAI, but it'll use a math model to give you an answer, right? So models cannot be very generic, right? All these generic models that you see today, like OpenAI and all these, are very generalized models that are trained on internet data, which can be found a lot. You can just scrape the internet. You don't have to pay anyone. You get a lot of data. You can train this to behave like a human, have like a very human generic knowledge. But this model cannot be used as it is, right? I like you guys are expert in, let's say, analyzing the market. You guys know what to talk about when market is pumping and stuff like that, right? Because you guys have been doing this for years and years. You guys are trained on that. I might not be able to be as good as you guys on that. So everyone is like trained to do something good. Same goes with models. Think of models to be like human brains, right? And so you can't use a generic model to answer all the questions that we would have. So a model which, let's say if someone wants to have a math question answered in Perplexity, it runs through a math model and gives you an answer, right? So that is what is the future. That's how apps will be. Apps will let go of their traditional backend and start to replace them with AI models. But
Mhm.
are there infrastructure today that provide people to build AI models, unique AI models the way they want to? Not many. There is Hugging Face. Hugging Face lets you build AI models, but there is no reward in that. That's what we wanted to change. We want to enable crypto as a mechanism to reward people, where anyone can decide to build an AI model, use OpenLedger as a platform to build these models. But if they want to build these models, they need data, right? They need to figure out where to get data. And how do you encourage people to contribute data to a model? You need to pay them. You need to incentivize them. So that's one of the things that we took as a problem. How can we use our blockchain to attribute and show, okay, these are the data sets that you want to collect. You can collect on OpenLedger. Once you collect them, you can build models with them. And if your model gets used, your model has an impact, and people pay for your model, you got to give back to the data contributors. You got to pay them back. Now you bootstrap, you use this data and you build them. But once your model makes revenue, you can figure out on OpenLedger how your model is performing, what kind of data sets you're using to give an output, and based on that, you can attribute and reward the data contributors. So that is what we try to solve, right? So in that we've gone much more deeper, and we've done it much more open and verifiable. So you contribute data, let's say we have 100,000 people contributing data sets to a model, and assuming this model is about math, and everyone is sharing various information that they know. um, let's say a model gets used, it's get built, and every time this model gets queried, on the answer this model gives, we figure out which data is causing that answer to come, right? We figure out of the 100,000 data set that was given, which knowledge that was feeded was useful for the model to give an output, right? And then on that output, we figure out who are the top 10 data providers. And when we let the model developers basically use this data, use this information, this attribution that we've shown to reward the data contributors. So that's what we worked on, right? To figure out how people can collect data on top of OpenLedger, build models with that, make the model perform, have users use these models, and every time it's used, figure out which data is causing this usage with this output, and then reward accordingly. So that's where we attribute, right? Every time a model throws an output, we attribute and we show that.
I can imagine that this
Yes.
is super, super complex, right? Sorry, Brett,
Yeah.
just this quick
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. Finish up.
You said you have like then the 10 data sources that have been used for that query, but then you also need to make sure that these actually are the original data sources and that these data sources are not aggregating someone else's original contributions. So is that something you're working with and are trying to solve as detailed as you can, that you make sure you always go back to the original data researcher, creator, or data provider?
So there are two layers to OpenLedger, right? One is the app layer, another one is the blockchain layer. Both are interlinked. So
Mhm.
let's talk about the app layer. So someone wants to build a model. The first thing they do is basically open up a contract and showcase that they want to build this model and they need data sets. And they write a rule engine on what kind of data sets has to be contributed. Then data contributors across the globe can come forward and contribute data. Again, coming back to the example, this is a math model. and we need like math-based data sets to be contributed, people go ahead and contribute these math-based data sets. And that is stored on chain. So Ram goes ahead and contributes a data set. The data that he contributes is stored on chain to prove that Ram owns this data and his wallet address is tagged to that. Similarly, 100,000 others can contribute, and all of their data sets are stored on chain. Now, the verifying whether this data is truly owned by this particular person, that's a very unique problem to face, right? We let that owners to be owned by the model developers. So the model developers can basically bring in validators, people who can validate this data to see whether this data is actually true what they're contributing and to see if there's any plagiarism. So we provide them with the toolkits to, to see plagiarisms and stuff like that. So once the data is validated, once the data is on board, now you have all the data on chain. Each data set is tagged to a wallet address and the ownership is proved on chain now. Now model uses this data. You train the model on top of OpenLedger with all of these data sets. You provide a no-code platform. The second app that is there, right? It's a no-code platform where you can train these models with these data sets. Again, once you train these models with these data sets, that is stored on chain as well. So we store on chain which model has, these 100,000 data sets, and we have that data on chain. The third app layer is where people can get access to this data now. First, data is collected, model is built, and then once that is done, the third layer is where the model gets deployed. Now people can use these models. It can be used by agents, it can be used by apps. Like for example, the most popular app, which is the agent, is called AIXPT, right? It used an OpenAI in the backend, an OpenAI model. So like all of these agents need a model, so they could use one of OpenLedger's models out there, and when they start using them, when they start inferring and asking questions to these model, how we ask questions like ChatGPT, on that answer we figure out which data that was initially collected caused that output, and then we showcase that on chain as well. Now you have track of who's contributed data that is on chain. Now you have track on which model is using the data that is on chain as well. And then now you know what is the data's impact on the model's output that is on chain as well. And you also have a feed of how much people are paying. Every time inference is done, you can figure out which agent and how much are they paying as well. Based on that, the model creator now can share that payment for all of these data providers. Like let's say in an inference, a model creator gets paid $1, and out of that, he would like to share about like 60% to the data contributors or 50% out of that. He's going to share the 50 cents to all the data contributors. And out of the 100,000 data contributors, there could be like 10 people who actually cost that inference. And all of these 10 people get paid that 50 cents. So that's how we kind of like manage this entire process. I know it's a bit complex to actually say that, but we try to make it as simple as possible, and we try to make it as seamless as and anyone can. Our aim is to not just have developers build AI models. Anyone who wants to play around with AI, who knows a bit of tech, can use our no-code platform to do all of this very seamlessly.
That's pretty cool. I think I'm just going to summarize one cool aspect, and then I think Brad had something to contribute as well. I think one of the things that is interesting there is that one of the criticisms of AI in general has been that you can just, it's just scraping data from everyone all the time. Where's it coming from? A, you don't know where it's coming from. And then B, are those people who have basically contributed being properly compensated for whatever work and research that they've done to provide you with that information? And obviously in lots of cases, they haven't consented even to provide you with this information. The model is just working, right? So this is interesting because it maybe provides some layer of transparency, which maybe hasn't existed before, where you can kind of piece by piece understand what the specific contributions were. So I find that pretty interesting.
One sad thing, one good and bad thing about that is that, like, it's for us as convenience that these models are really good and these AI agents and apps are good. Like for example, everyone loved when Grok released its new version, and we were all trying it out. We still do, right? But the sad fact to that is that all of our Twitter data is actually used to train Grok, right? So
Yeah.
That's the fact, right? We can't do anything about it because we all consent to do that.
Sure.
So, but how can we change that? We can't probably change that. All the internet data is still consumed and will continue to consume. We can't do anything about it. There's no point in fighting around that and saying that, we're going to build another foundation model which is not going to take all of this. There's no point in saying that. We can't compete with them. But what can you do? Like, how can you make AI yourself? How can you enable people to build better AI models, but still pay the data contributors? That's where we started, working on this. Where, okay, general models are great. They use internet data. We can't do anything about it. But what if models have to be better? But there is a need for it. And what if we can build a system where people can get paid as part of the process, and we can
Makes
start
sense.
like this data gig economy, right? That's the overall idea.
That's an interesting framing for sure. Brett, did you want to come in here?
Yeah, my general, like just hearing Ram talk, like you're clearly betting on the mass proliferation of AI as tech, right? Like, it's like we're not just talking like right now. There's a handful of models, right? We look at 5 or 6 or 7 models that are dominant across the industry that most people are using in day-to-day stuff, and then you're talking about, or what you're building for is like, okay, models are clearly useful. We're going to get to a point where you can iterate on and gen up your own so frequently, just like you're creating a meme, that you basically need to enable the scaffolding for people to do that, right? The desire is going to be there to do that for the reasons you point out, right? Like, it's, people want it to be specific, to be trained on things, to be functional, to be pointed at a specific task. So like that's effectively what you're trying to build for right now. Like, so if you squeeze or squint and look at today, you're like, well, like, yeah, how many models do we actually need? It's very similar to back in the day where the internet was proliferating. You're like, yeah, well, give me 16 kilobytes of RAM. Like, we're probably good for a little bit, right? And then it explodes and you see iteration, and then like it commoditizes and blows out. So mostly just like reflection on that. And I'm assuming that is kind of how you envision the future playing out.
Absolutely. I think, see, if you take a look at it, right, most of all the things that we interact with our lives will be consumed by AI, right? Like, for example, I don't think we'll be driving cars in the next 5, 6 years, right? All of our cars will be self-driving. I love driving, so that's bad for me, but still, that's what is going to happen. Like, but if you take a look at like models that are used within Tesla, it's their own model that they use, and there are a couple of other platforms out there. Like, we don't know about this because we always talk about OpenAI and we talk about Llama and all these models which are like usually popularized, right? But there are self-driving models which are basically these are vision models that enable cars to be self-driving. And most of these models are trained on Western world, right? They're trained on experience of how people drive in US, in Europe, and other parts of the world where people have better discipline to drive a vehicle, right? But there are people who are building models very specific for the Eastern world as well. Like, if you take a look at Southeast Asia, there's a very popular model, AI model for self-driving cars over there, which is basically much better than Tesla and all that because it can wade through all the cows and the bikes and all that will come in between as people drive. So this model is trained for Asia and Southeast Asian countries, right? So that's a specialized model where the data sets are not usually available. So like these, there are people who are building models that are very unique and different use. We spoke to a team which is actually building an X-ray model, a model that's just trained on X-ray based data sets. I know a team which is building a model for sleep, where they're collecting data sets of how people are sleeping across the globe, and their health that is being correlated based on the sleep pattern that they have. And now, if you go ahead and just upload your sleep pattern to this model, it's going to tell you whether you're healthy or not, and what presumable symptoms or diseases that you might have. So people will build unique models, like models which are going to provide use cases for various things that we use. Apps will need models. Every app that we interface today, like an e-commerce app or a food delivery app or a trading app or a DEX, all of these will need app models which will power them. So that's the world we look at. Like, I think that's the future, and we want to make sure that we can make a dent in this future. How we can use crypto to make this model development much more easier, much more scalable.
Yeah, you have stuff like OpenPilot, for example, which also is this model working on Toyotas and some other car brands. They use the the CAN network of cars to train on that and basically turn your Toyota into a self-driving car. And a lot of people experimenting with that on Reddit. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think every aspect of our lives will be replaced or be intersected with AI, and you need AI infrastructures to support that.
Interesting. Really interesting stuff. Let's, talking about the future there. One of the things we talk about on the show a lot is value accrual, and a lot of emphasis recently has been placed on revenue, for example, and sometimes by extension token buybacks. What's the kind of business model that you guys see for yourselves at the moment? Revenue projections, like what is the right way to value a project like yourselves at the moment? And then I'll ask you a final question on your token coming up and what your plans are there.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm an outsider when I talk about this, right? Like when I'm in events and stuff like that, because I've like my all my life, like after I got into entrepreneurship, I've always made revenue, right? We've raised money, but we've made revenue. It's always cash positive, and that's how I've learned to do business. So when
Which
we
is not
starting
always the
open,
case in crypto.
not always the
the case in
case,
crypto.
right?
Yeah.
So when we started OpenLedger and we spoke with our partners and a couple of other folks, even investors, when we say that we're planning to make revenue and stuff like that, and they were like shocked. They're like, "Okay, why are you guys thinking about that? You first launch the token." And like, token, token is something which is gonna be a value add for people to participate in our ecosystem, but that's not the revenue itself, right? So I think that's how everyone should think. They should look for a long-term project to sustain. Having revenue, having a product market fit is very important. We all can talk about decentralization. Everything can be decentralized, but it could end up having no product market fit, right?
Sure.
Decentralization is needed where it should be, and a product has to be useful. People have to use the product. That's something that we would always want to believe in. And in OpenEdge, if you take a look at it, right now we are in testnet. We have 10 projects already building models on us, right? They're working with us very closely. We want to make sure that we can showcase these models outside to people to know that okay, this can be done, right? And then we can have probably 100 guys build on us once we go mainnet, right? And then
Awesome.
on the other side, we also want to work with enterprises. So we work with a couple of enterprises in crypto, like Trust Wallet and all that. We're going to announce them soon. We work with a lot of traditional companies in the space as well. We have had experience working with Walmart. We are in conversation with them to work with them, and then we're working with Dubai Tax Authority. We're building a model for them. All of that will be announced soon, right? So these are actual projects where we'll have contracts and they will pay us. Like not that that
Sure.
is that's been shocking for many people, but we want to do that. We want to make sure that we can bring that culture in. And with AI, there is significant use case. People want to implement AI, so there's a good opportunity for us to actually have a good product market fit and enable people to build on us and actually play to the network. So that is something that we are pretty serious on. That's been the case when we started Open Digital was to actually raise money, build the product, figure out product market fit to make sure that it is optimized because AI is always changing, right?
Sure.
When we started, things were different. AI was totally different. Like most of the models are not capable at all. Now models have come to a point where they're so capable that people start to question whether you need to have like specialized models. Then we kind of understood that yes, models will be capable, but these models have to be fine tuned to your own need. It's going to
For
be
sure.
good, but you need to make it better for your own need, or you need to make it customized for your own need. And not everyone needs a big model, right?
Got it.
So
So when
that's
so
sorry.
that's on the revenue side. Sounds like you've got that focus and you've got loads of like kind of specific contracts that are ready and incoming. On the token side, I'm conscious of time. We've probably just got a few minutes left. So want to do a couple of quick ones here. You've got a token coming up. Revenue side, you're super focused on. What are the plans for the token? How are you going to make that side of the equation valuable? Obviously, people like to see revenue. People also like to see valuable tokens. So how are you thinking about that side of things?
Yeah, so token is a driver in the platform because like we want to make sure that so one of the major points that we discussed, right? We want to enable people to be rewarded for the data that they provide, and the reward will happen through OpenLedger tokens. So
Okay.
OpenLedger token will be the the fixed point where every action in a network works. People will use OpenLedger token to build models on us. They'll pay using our tokens. People will collect data and reward data providers using our token. And there's also governance, which is very important as part of our network as well. Anyone can propose a model, but a model will go through a phase of collecting data once it has enough stake and votes from the community, right? So governance is very key, and we want OpenLedger tokens to be for people to hold and vote on these models as well. So we probably would think about launching the token once we go mainnet, and mainnet is in preparations right now. We are in testnet currently. Probably look at 1 to 2 months as we go mainnet, and then obviously the token will come out accordingly. We don't want to launch a protocol without mainnet and have a token with it, which is
Well,
unfortunately many people have been doing
we
that.
wouldn't be the first.
Yeah.
So
Ram's bold given months window, 1 or 2 months. Nice.
I just had a conversation with my CTO, so
Okay.
it's
Feeling strong. Yeah.
yeah.
Nice. Exclusive.
As long as he doesn't get sick and he's out, and so it's fine.
Good stuff. Okay, Ram, it's been a super interesting conversation. Like, we're trying to spotlight various projects in different corners of the industry that we're finding super interesting at the moment. We've kind of spoke a little bit about AI more generally, touched on the product and got into some of the specifics. Talked about the token, which is going to catch people's attention a lot as well, which I think people are always super interested in. Just as a final thing here before we close off, is there anything else that we missed? Anything else you'd like to share? How can people get involved if they're interested? What do people need to know?
So we are currently in testnet, and we've had a lot of people participate. Close to about 1 million users that have contributed data sets to us. Right now, we are launching our testnet 2, Epoch 2, where you could experiment and like contribute very constructive data sets as well, and then you can experiment to build models. I would love to have the community participate and provide feedback. Corrective feedback is very important, especially when you're building a product in a technology space like AI, where it's ever evolving. So would love to have a feedback from the team, and of course support us. Follow us on Twitter. We are at OpenLedger HQ, and if you guys have any questions, you can DM us. We're happy to answer. And would love to have everyone study and just get to know about AI in general. So just learn about AI. We've always been talking about AI into our posts and stuff like that. So would love to hear from you guys.
Awesome. I've got your profile up on screen. If people are interested, it's at Ram Kumar Tweet. Obviously at OpenLedger HQ is the official OpenLedger handle. Ram, thanks so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks, guys. It's good to talk to you guys. See you guys around.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate it, Ram.
Just a reminder for everyone else, we do this every single day, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern time for 1 hour live on X Video, YouTube, and Apple and Spotify too. We're increasingly doing these dial-ins. We're having a lot of fun talking to some of the leaders across the industry in different pockets that we're finding interesting. So we look forward to continuing. We will be back again with you tomorrow as usual. Take care. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.